It's every parent's worst nightmare, isn't it, to be told something like this has been happening to their child. I'm at loss for words, really, the impact. I know that there are some young people can't reconcile that the person that they were speaking to online wasn't this young man of a similar age to them, that they were having what seemingly was a nice conversation to begin with that turned into something incredibly clandestine, just vile, abhorrent behaviour, the things that he asked them to do. And I don't think we will truly know the full extent of the impact that this has had on those young people.
The offending by Lewis Edwards was absolutely despicable, and I know that the public will be as appalled as I am that they were committed by a serving police officer. As soon as it became clear to us that he was an employee of South Wales Police, we took action to immediately suspend him from duty. We then ensured that as soon as possible we convened an accelerated gross misconduct hearing to ensure that he was sacked from South Wales Police and removed from the service. I've spent a great deal of time with frontline colleagues of Edwards, and I'm struck by how surprised, shocked, traumatised they are by the fact that they worked alongside him whilst being unaware of what he was doing in secret. When he was recruited into South Wales Police, there were very thorough, tried and tested vetting processes that gave no indication that he was committing these kind of appalling offences.
We received some intelligence, it was Christmas week last year actually, and it was in relation to some financial transactions using Bitcoin that had been used to purchase child sexual abuse imagery. So that was a financial line of inquiry that we needed to work through to try and identify who was making those purchases. In the new year, we received another piece of information. This was in relation to the uploading of images again via Snapchat, and that information and intelligence needed to be developed as well. Now, both those pieces of information, they give us different lines of inquiry and avenues. And the second piece of information, the Snapchat and the uploading, that the inquiries led us to an IP address. And we did some further work around that IP address, which led us to an address in Bridgend and the name of a person. We were able to identify that that person was paid salary-wise by South Wales Police. So we then did some internal inquiries with our own payroll and HR systems, and we were able to then identify that this was Lewis Edwards, who was in fact a serving police officer. I'm quite shocked, really. Shocked on a couple of levels. First of all, he was a police officer, so he was a colleague of ours. That was the first shocking piece. But then, once we'd carried out the enforcement activity, and we saw at the scene was described by my digital forensics colleague as being complex. So we knew that there was a very sophisticated network here, and the person responsible was very savvy when it came to all matters IT. It took 2 or 3 days, in fact, for us to properly capture and download all of the evidence at his home address to make sure that we didn't lose any vital evidence which would go on to help identify offenders, but more importantly, the safeguarding of all the young people involved in this investigation. But from very early on, we could see from the file records that very meticulous records have been kept, and as we've done further examinations, it's gone into the thousands of not only images, but also videos as well.
When I was at that scene, I found a computer tower, and inserted into that computer tower was a hard drive. Upon reviewing the tower, when I was looking through the folders and the contents, I found potentially hundreds of folders in names of potential victims here. My realisation from looking at this and looking into the folder structure was that this hard drive had been mounted or inserted into that Linux machine, and this is where all the contents were stored.
Due to the quantity of images and videos, the time it takes to look through at a fast pace, but also making sure that we identify any avenues for victim ID. And we ended up working on just reviewing the media for 2 months, 2.5 months. We noticed that the suspect was conversing with victims over the Snapchat application. Using a screen recording software, then he was able to record his interactions and any media they sent him. Any video calls or stuff like that was then saved directly to his phone then, without alerting that Snapchat user, the victim, that he had recorded anything.